Hello and welcome to this brand new edition of Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. Our focus continues to be on the escalating Israel-Hamas conflict. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today spoke to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas and conveyed his condolences over the loss of lives in Gaza. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi said, "I spoke to the President of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, conveyed my condolences at the loss of civilian lives at the Al-Ahli hospital in Gaza. We will continue to send humanitarian assistance for the Palestinian people. I shared our deep concern at the terrorism, violence and deteriorating security situation in the region. I reiterated India's long-standing principled position on the Israel-Palestine issue." That's what the Prime Minister said. This comes days after Prime Minister Modi spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, strongly condemning the Hamas terror attacks on Israel and expressing strong support for Israel. While Israel and Hamas blame each other for the Gaza hospital attack, there is now growing anger over Netanyahu's handling of the war and the killings of hundreds of Palestinians in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Meanwhile, a day after US President Joe Biden visited Israel and expressed solidarity in Tel Aviv's ongoing war against Hamas, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak followed suit. "We want you to win." That's what Sunak told Netanyahu today. This comes amidst relentless Israeli airstrikes on Gaza and a widely anticipated ground invasion of the blockaded Strip by the Israeli Defense Forces. Prime Minister Sunak said UK backs Israel's right to go after Hamas, but added that the Palestinian people are Hamas's victims too. He welcomed the plan to get some desperately needed humanitarian aid into Gaza from Egypt. Israel is heavily bombing Gaza every day, and the Palestinian death toll has crossed 3,700 according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Over 1 million people have had to flee their homes and are internally displaced. The enclave also remains under siege, with Israel blocking supplies of water, electricity, food and fuel across its border. Israel says it is striking Hamas targets in Gaza. The terror group is holding more than 200 hostages. This is the most serious escalation in the Israel-Palestine conflict in decades, which was triggered by the most horrific and barbaric attacks in Israel's history carried out by Hamas on the 7th of October. Those terror attacks killed more than 1,400 Israelis.
Well, Prime Minister, thank you for your warm words and for welcoming me to Israel. I'm just sorry to be here in such terrible circumstances. In the last 2 weeks, this country has gone through something that no country, no people should have to endure, least of all Israel, which has lived through some of the most awful scenes, the spectre of violence and terrorism every day of its existence. And I want to share the deep condolences of the British people and stress that we absolutely support Israel's right to defend itself in line with international law, to go after Hamas, to take back hostages, deter further incursions, and to strengthen your security for the long term. Now, I know that you are taking every precaution to avoid harming civilians, in direct contrast to the terrorists of Hamas, which seek to put civilians in harm's way. But I also want to thank you for the support that your government has given to the families of British nationals caught up in this horror, including your efforts to release the hostages, secure their release, and I know that we will continue to cooperate, particularly with regard to the British nationals that are involved. Can I also say that we have seen the scenes over the past day that have shocked all of us, particularly at the hospital, and we mourn the loss of every innocent life, civilians of every faith, every nationality who have been killed. And we also recognise that the Palestinian people are victims of Hamas too. And that is why I welcome your decision yesterday that you took to ensure that routes into Gaza will be opened for humanitarian aid to enter. I'm glad that you made that decision. We will support it. We're increasing our aid to the region, and we will look to get more support to people as quickly as we can. The last thing for me to close on is this. You describe this as Israel's darkest hour. Well, then it's for me to say I'm proud to stand here with you in Israel's darkest hour. As your friend, we will stand with you in solidarity. We will stand with your people, and we also want you to win.
And we have to fight them together, just as the world, the civilized world, united to fight the Nazis and united to fight Hamas. It must together now stand with Israel as we fight and defeat Hamas. This is not merely our battle, it's the battle of the entire civilized world. It's the battle of Israel, it's the battle of the moderate Arab countries, it's the battle of Western civilization, the battle of the free world, the battle for the future. We have here two forces. One is an axis of evil led by Iran through Hezbollah, Hamas, and others that want to bring back the Middle East to the Middle Ages, to an age of bondage and war and slavery and annihilation. And the other force is the forces of progress and humanity that want to push the Middle East into a world of peace and prosperity. We were on the cusp of expanding that peace, and destroying that move was one of the reasons why this action was taken. We have to resist it, and we have to win. Above all, we have to win. We have to release the hostages. You have nationals. Understand that, I know you do, that we have their children, babies, women, elderly, Holocaust survivors, and your nationals. And we have to work together in every way possible, and we're doing that, to get them back. I appreciate the fact that you also sent some military forces into the region. We discussed practical cooperation on many fronts, and I value that very much. 80 years ago, Prime Minister, the civilized world stood with you in your darkest hour. This is our darkest hour. It's the world's darkest hour. We need to stand together, and we want to win. And this is why I value your support, and the fact that you're here. We must win together. That means that this is a long war, and we'll need your continuous support. There'll be ups and downs, there'll be difficulties. The people here are united. They're prepared to take the necessary action. I've never seen the people of Israel as united, more united than they are now. But we need that unity across the board and continuous support as we prosecute and win this just war against the modern barbarians, the worst monsters on the planet.
We have talked about the terror attack. We have condemned it, and I think it is important the international community stand together to condemn it. On Palestine, our position, we have reiterated our position in favor of direct negotiations for establishing a two-state solution. We have also expressed, in particular at your query, our concern at the civilian casualties and the humanitarian situation that is happening day by day. And we would urge the strict observance of international humanitarian law. So that is what I would like to share with you. We have strongly condemned the horrific terrorist attack on Israel. The international community must stand together in combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, and there can be no equivocation on this. There was also issue of Palestine, and on that we have reiterated our position in favor of direct negotiations for establishing a two-state solution. We have also expressed our concern at the civilian casualties and the humanitarian situation. We would urge the strict observance of international humanitarian law. You would have also seen, as I mentioned earlier, one of the tweets by Prime Minister, and specifically about the Al-Ali hospital in Gaza, where he conveyed his condolences to the families of the victims and prayers for speedy recovery. And he said that civilian casualties in the conflict are a matter of serious and continuing concern, and those involved should be held responsible.
And as the situation in Gaza worsens with every passing day, with a massive humanitarian crisis unfolding, we are now joined on the show by Mustafa Ismail Tamaizeh. He is the Economic Justice Program Manager with Oxfam International. He joins us live from Ramallah in the West Bank. Mustafa, thank you so much for joining me on Global Lens tonight. This is a very difficult time for Palestinian people. Let me begin by asking you, how bad is the situation currently in Gaza as we speak? The death toll, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, has crossed 3,700.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yes, that's true. The situation is it's very bad. It is very dangerous, very risky. It's catastrophic. There is no secure place in Gaza. So casualties, people killed and people losing their lives every minute, every single minute. Unfortunately, they are civilians. Most of them There are children and women. The figures are like increasing rapidly every minute. You feel that there is no shelters in Gaza. There is no safe place. Even the hospitals are not safe anymore. The school shelters, they are not safe. So situation is terribly bad. Now 2 million of the Gazans, they lack of water, lack of food, lack of medicines. So basically there is no electricity there. So can anyone imagine a life without electricity, without water, without food? That's by the international law, it's not allowed. It's against humanity, against the human principles. The situation is catastrophic and need immediate intervention in Gaza.
You're quite right, Mustafa. It's very difficult to imagine a life without food, water, electricity, fuel, and that is what Gazans are currently living through. I want to ask you this. The situation was bad enough already, with hundreds of Palestinians losing their lives in Israeli airstrikes. Can you tell us in some detail about that attack on the Al-Ahli hospital? Apart from the blame game that's going on between Hamas and Israel, we were told that some 500 people lost their lives in that attack. Do we have any confirmation of those figures? What more can you tell us about that particular hospital attack?
Unfortunately, that's the figure. Yes, it's confirmed. It's more than 500 civilians were killed. Most of them, they are children were playing in the garden. And the bigger question there, actually, why those people were in the hospital? The hospital were hosted over 4,000 people, in addition to the sick people and injured people, taking treatments in the hospital. But why people moved to the hospitals? Because the Israeli airstrikes, it's everywhere in Gaza. So the people look for a place where they think it might be safe for them. So some of them, they already moved to the schools, UNRWA schools, some moved to the hospitals. So those people, 4,000 people, were fled to the hospital. They thought it's safer. Unfortunately, it's hit. And there are some photos actually one day before the strike where people were cleaning the garden, were enjoying a little bit. Yeah, it is safer. Yes, they heard the bombardment everywhere, but at least not in the hospital. But unfortunately, even the hospital itself was targeted, and that's a big question mark. If the hospital, the most civilians building and organizations for everyone, it's become a target, then the question to the international community, where to go? Is there any safe place in Gaza? That's the point. The hospital's already hit by, the schools already hit by strikes, civilians, buildings, water, everything there. The infrastructure is not safe there. So the question where to go. So there is no safe place in Gaza. And the question here to everyone actually can see us. Does that accepted by humanity all over the world?
It should be unacceptable to the world. I couldn't agree more with you, Mustafa. And according to the World Health Organization, even before this hospital bombing, at least 115 health centers in Gaza had been bombed in these Israeli airstrikes. Now this hospital attack has made a bad situation so much worse. And you were saying it's not just patients who were at the hospital, there were people who had taken refuge there. And the most important question you're putting to the people watching this interview is, where do we go? There are no safe spaces left anymore. Is it correct, Mustafa, that even as Israel tells civilians to move from northern Gaza to southern Gaza, there have been bombings and killings in southern Gaza too? That's what a Palestinian that we spoke to 2 days ago told us. Is that how it is?
Yes. First of all, the Israelis asked the people in Gaza City and the northern part of Gaza to move to the south. They said it will be safe. Some of people already started moving, but unfortunately, in their way, moving from the north to the south, they hit by airstrikes, and minimum 140 people were killed. Again, families, there are over 70 Palestinian families in Gaza, totally erased from the civil registry. The entire family were killed. So people moved to the south. There is no safe place in the south. So where to stay? People sleep in the streets. People sleep in schools and hospitals. Over 70 people per single room. Can you imagine? 70 people per single room, if there is, and they are lucky if there is a room. So then people decided to go back to home. They said, whether we still alive in our homes or we hit and we die in our home. Why to be hit like in the streets or in the cars or anywhere? There is no single square meter safe in Gaza. And let me tell you something even more. Not only about the strike, which does not discriminate between anyone, it's hit everyone. The problem now with lack of water, lack of, there is no electricity. There is clear signs now for waterborne diseases. And that's also who not die by the strike.
Mustafa, could you give us some more details of those diseases that you were talking about? You were saying not only is there no food, electricity, fuel, diseases are now spreading. Give us a sense of how bad the situation is on the health front for Palestinians.
Well, even before this escalation, the health sector in Gaza was really difficult, was really, weak. Because of the 16 years of, blockade over Gaza, nothing going, everything is under control by the Israelis, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Now with this strike since 12 days, there is no electricity, no medicine supply, no water. And by the way, the water in Gaza either come from Israel, which is now closed, or comes from desalination water, because all the water in Gaza is saline. The salinity is high. So now with lack of electricity, the water, it's, desalination units are not working. Water from Israel is not coming. Now it is like 3 liters water available per capita per day. People in Gaza, my friends, I was calling them, they dream actually to find water just to take a shower. Very simple dream. So when it comes to the hospitals, the health sector in Gaza, it is collapsing. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Doctors are doing surgeries in the corridors without, proper in a proper room or proper tools and so on. The system is collapsing. Water is not there, and all the sewage now. We talk about a very dense area, and even the sewage now it goes into the valleys and goes to the sea without any treatment. So that's harmed the human being, but also that's harmed the sea life. This is the life in Gaza. It is impossible unless there is immediate stop for this crazy war and allowing for humanitarian access for basic supply, food, water, electricity. And even we hear the positive news now with Biden visit to the area. So it will be, they will allow humanitarian aid to go in. But they talk about 20 trucks. Just before 12 days, like Gaza, it has, 100 trucks per day, which is just barely enough for Gaza. 20 will not enough for Gazans in this situation.
This is what I wanted to come to next. That following President Biden's visit to Israel, there was an agreement between Israel, the US and Egypt that humanitarian aid will come into Gaza via Egypt. As of now, 20 trucks a day. You are saying that is far from enough. Many have said Gaza will need at least 100 trucks of humanitarian aid a day. But the question is, Mustafa, let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that this desperately needed aid does come in. But there are some fears. What if Hamas seizes this humanitarian aid? Will they let these trucks through? Will Hamas let this aid reach the Palestinian people who desperately need it? Are you worried about that?
Listen, we know the situation. We've been working there, Oxfam and hundreds of international organizations. The UN agencies are there. We hear that, we know about that concern. We have our robust system in place. We know how to differentiate between people and where to feed those civilians. So now in the Norwa schools, in the hospitals and everywhere. I don't think that's an strong reason or excuse to not allow for the humanitarian aid to go in. It's a matter of life. People are dying. Whether we allow the humanitarian aid to go in, of course we can put the mechanisms to satisfy, according to the international laws, according to the international communities. We're happy to be managed by the UN, United Nations, which is trusted, organization all over the world. the point now, it's a matter of life. If they not allow for humanitarian aid to go in, and it's not 20 trucks, like a minimum 100 trucks per day, that's before the war. Now 100 trucks per day will not enough. And we talk about food, we talk about water, we talk about medicine, and most important, we talk about fuel, because there is no electricity there, and you can imagine the health sector without electricity.
So
and now we're approaching the winter.
How many trucks of humanitarian aid a day does Gaza need? 20 will not be enough. How many does Gaza need?
The minimum 100 trucks per day. That's before this situation. With this situation,
and now,
I don't think below 200 trucks per day will be enough.
Minimum 200 a day. But I want to ask you the question I asked you earlier. Like we said, this is good news. This is a positive development that these three countries have arrived at an agreement to bring in humanitarian aid. The question I was asking, Mustafa, is there are some who fear that Hamas may not allow this aid to come into Gaza. What would you say about that?
I think my reaction, let it go from the Egyptian side. And if Hamas stop it, we put it in their corner. So I can't, I'm not in a position to answer on behalf of Hamas. But I don't think they will be, taking this position, because actually the people there are dying. And I don't think any party will accept that. Even if Hamas accepted, though, then I will call through your channel. I will call the international community, even to pressure them. Why not? Why to stop, humanitarian aid? Why to stop food? Why to stop medicine? And in top of the medicine and those basic needs, also there is an immediate need to evacuate some of those people who are injured, civilians people, like women, children, and they are severely injured. And because the health sector in Gaza is really bad, is really weak, so they need to be evacuated. Otherwise, if they stay in Gaza, they might lose their life. So I think it's a matter of life. Let the aid go in, and if there is, in any case, Hamas will say no, I think the international community can find another solution, which I don't think it will happen.
Okay, you don't think it will happen. Gaza needs a minimum of 200 trucks of aid, and I couldn't agree more with you, Mustafa. Imposing a total siege and cutting off food, electricity, water and fuel supplies to 2.3 million people cannot be justified. It has been described as a war crime and a crime against humanity. But let me ask you a personal question. Can you tell us about your family, your friends, your colleagues in Gaza? What condition are they in? Have you been able to communicate with them in the last few days?
Well, I have been trying to communicate with many people there because I know many people there. Unfortunately, most of them I can't communicate because there is no way to communicate with them. The telecommunications is down. The electricity is not there, as I said. Internet is not there. It's hard to reach people. However, I managed to hear and to talk to some of them. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to eat. Some of them, they said they eat once a day. Some of them, I confirm to you, a friend of mine, they and his family, they are drinking water not suitable for for drinking, for domestic use. But this is the only source. It's agricultural water. As I told you, a friend of mine also, he said, my dream is to have enough water to have a shower. My dream, another one told me, is just to see my kids sleeping well in the night. They told me they hate the night more than the day because in the night more strikes and they only see the light of the strikes, unfortunately, when the fire set up, following the strike. It's really difficult. It's really hard situation there. People are collapsing. It's something really difficult to describe the situation in Gaza. People queuing in front of the bakery to bring bread for their kids, like 2, 3, 4 hours to bring just some bread to eat. It is a really catastrophic situation, and I'm calling through your channel. Anyone can see us to pressure the international community to take immediate action.
It is catastrophic. There is no other way of describing it. You're a Palestinian yourself. I want to ask you this question. Given what's going on in Gaza, how do you feel about one world leader after another, from President Biden to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, visiting the Israeli capital, standing next to the Israeli Prime Minister and saying, we are with Israel in this war against Hamas. Israel has every right to go after Hamas and every right to do what it is doing in Gaza?
The point is, this war, gradually, it's become against civilians. We're seeing the casualty are civilians. You can see in your TV, there are kids like infant, like over 35% of the people who were killed, infant, months, like 10 months, less than a year. Can you imagine? They are not Hamas. They don't know nothing about Hamas. Seeing the international leaders coming to Israel, I wish they also visit Gaza, just to see the situation in Gaza. As you said, I mean, the situation does not started 12 days ago. The situation started 70 years ago, since the occupation. There is a military occupation. It has to end. There is a blockade and complete siege over Gaza, 2.3 million being under complete siege. I can't tell you 1 million. It's 50% of the population there. They never been out Gaza. They know nothing about the war. They don't know where is in New Delhi, whether if it's in India or if it's in Egypt, because they never been out. What do you expect from those people? So I wish, like those leaders who come to Israel and show solidarity with Israel, just to cross the border and to see how the situation there, how the humanitarian situation, to talk to the people, innocent people, and see how they are really cool and human and generous and welcome everyone in the world. I would call also and argue the United Nations General Secretariat for an immediate and urgent visit to Gaza, to visit the UNRWA schools, to visit the UN agencies there in Gaza, to visit the hospitals, to talk to people. You know, the people in Gaza, apart from need for, of course, immediate ceasefire and for like basic needs and so on, but also they need someone to talk to them and to talk to. They need someone to listen to them and to hear what they are complaining and why they are complaining, what their situation, what's their hope. You know, there is a tragic things. I was listening to a child like 10 years old. He asked, what's your dream when you grow up? Just focus in the answer. He said, listen, in Gaza, we never grow up. We just killed at this age. So I don't imagine myself like stay another 10 years. This is the answer of this kid. Imagine the level of frustration that kid has to answer this answer. And that's applied for all Palestinians, to be honest with you.
It's heartbreaking. What you just told us about that 10-year-old Palestinian kid is heartbreaking, Mustafa. And you are saying all those world leaders who are visiting Israel should also come visit Gaza to see what's happening to the Palestinians there. And you're also making an appeal to the UN Secretary General to come visit Gaza.
Yeah, definitely. I argue all of them. If they are coming to Israel, that's fine. Come to see the Gaza. And if you have this like a relation with Israel, I'm sure they can pressure the Israelis to stop this catastrophic war. And even if they go, now the Israelis, threaten the next step will be like a ground invasion. If they go for the ground invasion, I tell you, there will be a catastrophe. There will be a war crime. There will be thousands of people killed on the streets. Where to go? There are already some streets, some neighborhood completely erased, completely demolished in Gaza. So people don't know where to go. I was talking to a friend of mine in Gaza City. I was trying to encourage him to go out of his house because the Israelis, asked him to leave to the south. He said, Mustafa, I am already a refugee since 70 years from in 1948 from the historical Palestine to Gaza. And I'm now a refugee in Gaza. If I move to Rafah, there is no guarantee I will be back to Gaza again. So I'll be a refugee for next time. I would prefer to die in my house. And they refuse to go out. So definitely I argue all the international communities. I argue Indian leaders also to come and visit, Pakistani, everyone, across the globe, from the south to the north, African leaders, even the Western, the Europe, why not the European Commission to come and visit and to see the situation on the ground? We are against any killing of any civilians anywhere in the world. But that if there is an action or if there is an attack happen, That does not, justify you to target 2.3 civilians, million of Palestinians. They are civilians. They are literally in the largest jail on the world. It is a jail. People never go out of it because the Israelis have the gates and they just close the gates.
You know, I want to tell you and our viewers, Mustafa, that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi just today spoke to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, and he said India will continue to send humanitarian aid to Gaza. He conveyed his condolences over the loss of lives, and he has said that we are committed to the Palestinian cause and to the two-state solution. India's Prime Minister conveyed that to the Palestinian Authority President today. But I want to ask you a different question, Mustafa. Do you know, a lot of people, including Israelis, have said that Hamas not only kill Israelis, they also kill their own people, Palestinians. For example, they are known for using Palestinians as human shields. I want to ask you, do you believe that a majority of Palestinians oppose the methods adopted by Hamas? For example, the terror strikes in Israel?
Maybe I'm not, in that position because, I'm representing here, not Hamas, of course. But what I can tell you, also we need to talk about the context in general. We talk about a population who are under military occupations since 60 years. We talk about Palestinian people who 70% of them are refugees from their homeland. We talk about like the Palestinians agrees to go for a peace process with the Israelis, right? Since 30 years. The outcome of that peace process is nothing. And gradually you talk about like the two-state solution, which yes, most of Palestinians believe in it. But on the ground, I can tell you as a Palestinian and as a living here, I born here and grown up here, I never been outside. The two-state solution become impossible because if you look in West Bank, like it's over 80% of it, it's 100% controlled by the Israelis, by the illegal Israeli settlement, which is illegal according to the international laws. And that's like every day give you a feel that two-state solution is not valid anymore. So that makes the level of frustration high and high among the new generation. We talk about Palestinians who are 60% of them are below 18 years. It's a very, young people. And if you have this percentage of young people, youth with lots of frustration, no hope, so what do you imagine? What do you expect from them? There is no hope for any solution. If you talk about people in Gaza, they've been under the siege since 16 years. So 1 million out of 2.3 million.
I do take your point, Mustafa. Trust me, I do, about the frustration that you're talking about. But I will ask you this. Do Hamas enjoy popular support amongst Palestinians, according to you?
Hamas is part of the Palestinian parties. It has, but what's the percentage? I don't know. But definitely, it's not the whole population.
It's not the whole population, it's a percentage of the population, but it'll be difficult for you to tell us how much support they enjoy with the Palestinians.
I don't know, basically. Simply, I don't know that, but the point is, again, I mean, even if you talk already, Hamas, has the power in Gaza, but it does not has the power in the West Bank. But even though there is no Hamas in West Bank, okay, the last year, the current year, and the West Bank, according to official statistics by the UN agencies, the number of Palestinian people were killed this year is the highest since decades by the Israeli army. So the matter sometimes here, whether it's against Hamas or against civilians. So Hamas does not control the West Bank. So even, okay, why? So the peace process after 30 years. So what's the results? We are in the same situation. The question is here, what are the options in the front of Palestinians?
No Hamas in West Bank. Why are Palestinians then being killed in West Bank? Is a very valid question. Final question, Mustafa, as we wrap up this conversation. You've already described the ongoing situation as a catastrophe. And we've been talking about how there might be a ground invasion of Gaza next by Israeli troops. You referred to it as well. How devastating is that likely to be? And given that Israel is in no mood to call a ceasefire or agree to a ceasefire, what would you say to the international community today?
And I say the history will write everything and will document everything. I think there is an opportunity for the international community to take immediate action. Otherwise, will be one day where the humanity will regret that they allowed for this war and the Israelis to kill 2.3 million civilians simply for no reason.
And many are saying that this is a genocide that Israel is carrying out. Is that how you see it?
If that will happen and they will go for the ground and they will kill thousands of people, they are civilians according to the international law. And I think already hitting the hospital and the schools and doing such a ground invasion, that definitely will be a war crime and will be a genocide.
It would be a war crime, it would be a genocide. I can tell you one thing, Mustafa, we're all hoping and praying for this war to end at the earliest. Our thoughts and prayers are with all those who are suffering. There is just too much suffering right now. But thank you so much, Mustafa, for speaking to us about what is happening in Gaza at this very difficult time. It's not easy for you as a Palestinian who's so close to this conflict, but thank you for making time for us. We're hoping that people will listen to what you have to say.
We hope to. Thank you for your time and for allowing me to send this message to the world. Thank you.
We're grateful for your time. Thanks, Mustafa.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. In this devastating war, there are grieving families on both sides. Today came the heartbreaking news that Noya, a 13-year-old Israeli girl with special needs, was found dead in Gaza. Noya, who had autism, had been taken hostage by Hamas terrorists on the 7th of October from a kibbutz in Israel near the Gaza border. Noya's 80-year-old grandmother, who was also captured, has been found dead too. A few days back, I'd spoken to Noya's mother, Galit Dan, who talked about how she was having sleepless nights, not knowing where Noya was, what condition she was in, and how she was being treated by the Hamas terrorists. It was hard for Galit to fight back her tears as she spoke to us about her nightmare, which has now got unimaginably worse. Listen in to what she told me that day as she begged for her child's life.
5 members of their family have been kidnapped, the youngest being 13 years old and the eldest being 80 years old. Hadas Calderon, if I could start with you. First and foremost, I want to thank both of you for joining us at a very, very difficult time. My heart goes out to you and your families. Hadas, please tell us and our viewers what happened that day and how many members of your family, who all have been kidnapped, and what do we know about them and their condition?
Okay. We live in a peaceful, quiet village just near Gaza. In 6:30 in the morning, they will start bombing us. Bombs. It was really massive bombs. And then we heard terrorists coming. We heard Arab language. Suddenly we understand the terrorists came inside our village, our kibbutz. In half an hour after, we understand they go house by house and kill and murder and butchered and slaughtered. We had a massacre, pogrom. It was like they didn't have pity, not even for dogs. They killed old people, babies, children, dogs, men, women, family. All family was gone. We are survivors by miracle. Anyone who been survived, it's a miracle. And then now we are 7 days after. The problem is what's happened. We can't go back. But they took a lot of hostage, kidnapped. They just took children, babies, family, and they took them straight to Gaza. They hold them now in cruel hands for 7 days. We have no information, nothing. We don't know. We don't know if they eat. We don't know if they drink. We don't know if they survive. Nobody give us any information. We hear because we want to scream to the world. Shake the sky, shake the world to release the innocent children and ordinary people. This is not a human being. It's like Al-Qaeda, it's like ISIS, it's not, you can't even imagine it. We just here to pray and to begging for the whole world, help. Anyone who can help in any way, talk to the government, talk to God, talk to anyone you can to release this innocent citizen. They are in a huge danger. Anytime, any minute they still there, it's a crisis. It's a crisis. We have to do it and to act. Not tomorrow, not now. Yesterday, we must act. We must release them. We must bring them to our hands. I talk like from my heart as a mom. We are in, I want you and the whole world to go inside and just imagine for a minute your child like hopeless, like been taken like this in a cruel hands, and we don't have any information. We have nobody to talk. We've been a peaceful and a peace mind village. We helped Gaza people. We took them to hospital. We took them. We gave them work. We've been. Our faith was to peace. I still believe in peace. I still believe we have to talk and not to fight. To make, to solve things by talk, and to make solutions, not in this cruel, crazy way. We can't make a war on the back of children and ordinary people. What's happened to our world? What's happening? And where is everybody? Where is the government? With American? I believe they make the best. I appreciate what the American government do, the French, Qatar, whatever. I believe they do their best, and I believe my children and all the other will come back. I know that. But it must be immediately, and we're asking for your help to make that. Then we can make my mom, she's American citizen. Okay, she's 80 years old. She's not healthy. I want to make her birthday. It's this month. I want to make a birthday with my child. We never had anything against the other people. We against the Hamas, against terror, against terrorists. I'm talking to the woman, to the Hamas woman, I'm talking to all women that in Gaza. Take care, make safe our children, hold them, protect them, bring them back. I don't know how to, I don't have a voice anymore. I don't even any tears anymore. I'm asking you to be my voice. I'm asking you to cry, the sky, make them back now, not tomorrow.
Hadas, we're all praying. We're all praying that your children, your mother, all your loved ones return home safely at the earliest. But this has to be a nightmare. Galit, let me come to you now. Your 80-year-old mother has been captured by them. Your 13-year-old child, 13-year-old, has been captured by them. And you have no idea what's happened to them, where they are. Galit, what happened? Can you describe to us what happened?
What happened is that my 13 years old girl with special needs is disappeared from the world. I don't know where she is. I didn't hear from her, except for the last.
Autistic child, special needs.
The last thing I heard from her. The last thing I heard from her was a vocal message. Mom, there's a lot of noise outside. I'm very much afraid. We were disconnected. I was in another kibbutz. We moved from Nir Oz to Kisufim just a few months ago. And when the red color alert started and the bombarding was in a huge amount of bombs fell down on us, we started to text in the family. And we understood that Nir Oz and Kisufim were bombarded. My mom, she wrote few texts. She said, I hear a lot of noise. I wrote to her, lock the door, even though I knew there are not a way, there's no way to lock the door, because the doors of the safe room are against bombs, not against someone who will open it. In Kisufim, they did like a metal bar with who we can lock the door. We find it when we went into the house. We didn't know what it was, and then during the attack that we understood there are terrorists in the kibbutz, we realized that bar that I almost threw away, we're going to save our life, and we put it, and few minutes after, someone tried to open the door, and there was a terrorist in my house. He sat down in my salon and opened the door, and through the window he shoot in a gun weapon, in a shoot gun, in a automatic gun on everybody who passes there. I don't know who. I heard voices in Hebrew, and I heard a gunshot, and I heard a grenade, and people hurt, and it was all around my house. And meanwhile, I'm trying to tell my mom, lock the door. She said, yes, it's locked, but I know it's not locked. She said, oh, I saw everything is broken in my house, which means she went out from the safe room. I told her, don't go out, close the door.
She couldn't anyway, because
I know, but I was hoping.
For 8 hours, and they shoot from the door. So people die, even they hold the door. You know, old people were hiding behind the beds for 3-4 hours, not breathing, no drink, no food. Me also, it was dark, no drink, no food, no telephone, just me and God.
Exactly.
Nobody
I was with my small kid, my 9 years old, and my companion, and it was a fear of death. I was sure I'm gonna die that day.
Yes,
we were praying and
we send the messages
to each other. Goodbye. Yes.
We didn't think we're going to survive that, but we are not important now. It doesn't matter what happened. What is important to release him immediately, because it's against any human law. It's against any human law. You have to wake up. What's happened to this world? Wake up. I don't care. I don't have a house anymore. I don't care about all my history stuff in the house. I don't care about my garden. I don't care about my land. I care about life. We have to fight to release them immediately. Innocent people, elderly people, children, babies, pregnant women.
They've taken away babies. They have 6-month-old babies. They have
They
a
took family,
91-year-old Holocaust
whole
survivor.
families. They,
Whole families.
they,
The only thing we can do, me and my sister, what we do, we are speaking to you, the whole world. We are calling for help. That's the way. The only I can. If I could, I would go there myself, but I can't. I can't go there myself. So I'm sending my word through you. You are the channel to the world. You are the channel to the, even maybe to the Hamas itself. Let them go. Let the people, those old people and sick and kids, let them go. You don't need them.
it's a massacre.
You don't need them.
It's a pogrom.
It was a massacre. It was a pogrom. They are alive now, and they need to get out from Gaza. They are alive. I know it for sure. I feel it in my heart,
I know
and I want
they
to
will come
believe
back.
it.
I
Yes.
know I know the whole world is working and do the best, and I appreciate everything. I appreciate it. You know, my mom, she's American citizen. My
Yes.
children and me, we are French citizen, Israeli, but French citizen.
Okay.
I'm asking the French government and United
The
States
Americans.
and Qatar, Qatar, you must say this is not it's a not human war. You can't
It is.
make this.
It is totally
War,
inhuman.
make it.
It is. And I
And they keep
sincerely
doing-
pray
They keep
that,
fighting.
yes,
I don't know, my children, they're hearing all the bombs and the noise and everything in Arab, and I don't know where they've been kept.
Delhi has the fastest growing metro network among G20 nations. From 6 stations in 2002, it today has 286 stations. Reliability, cleanliness and affordability have set the template for other Indian metros. The architect of this modern-day world-class marvel is E. Sridharan. Watch the extraordinary life